And I think just most times I'm too caught up in thinking about my own self. I'm too caught up in thinking about all the things that I want to do, that I want to accomplish, that I'm super selfish, and I don't stop and think about not only is following Christ for me, for my immediate benefit and the relationship and my family, but I don't stop and look at the people around me and think, are there people that are going to wind up never knowing Christ because I didn't shine the way I was supposed to shine? What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I did a little bit of rearranging. Hopefully you like it. I did it for you guys. So you know how I am this huge book fanatic. I love to read. Look behind me. Look at the bookshelf behind me. I've probably read 3 of those books. I love the idea. Hey, I talked about that on the vlog yesterday. I like the idea of reading. I love buying books. I love the idea of being the kind of guy who likes to sit down and read and not watch TV, but it's not me yet, but I'm working on it. Okay, so having said that, I started a book. I'm only 20 pages in, but I started reading a book called Radical, and it's by a man, can you see it? And it's by a man named David Platt, and it's just talking about being radically devoted to God. But there was a couple of paragraphs that I read today in there, and I want to talk to you guys about it because I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. In the book, he's referencing Matthew chapter 8, and there's a couple of verses in Matthew chapter 8 where there's some gentlemen who approach Jesus and they say, Jesus, we want to be disciples. And Jesus almost makes a case of why you don't want to be my disciple. He paints a horribly bleak picture of somebody who his disciples. He tells the first guy hey, foxes have their holes, birds, they have the air, they have trees, but the Son of Man, he has nowhere to lay his head. And Jesus is basically saying, you're going to be homeless if you want to be my disciple. You're going to be a vagabond. Is vagabond the right word? I'm going to have to define vagabond.
As a noun, vagabond means a person who wanders from place to place without a home or job.
Okay, yeah, so vagabond, that works. And then the next guy comes up to him and he says, Jesus, I want to follow you, but my dad just died. Let me go have his funeral, let me get him buried, and then I'll come and follow you. And he says, let the dead bury the dead. Don't even worry about it. If you want to follow me, you better follow me right now. And I've read those verses before, and they seem really, really harsh. But as you read them, you just have to know and put the filter on and know that God is nothing but love and Jesus is nothing but love. So he didn't say these things to try to be mean or critical or rude or anything like that. He just basically wanted to say, if you're going to follow me, don't follow me halfway. Following me means I am the most important thing in your life, and nothing else can compare. Nothing else can come before. I think basically he kind of showed those guys, I don't think you're ready to be a disciple. I don't think your mindset is there. I read the New King James Version, and in front of the verses 18 through 22, where Jesus is having that talk with those guys, above that, it says the cost of discipleship. And in the couple of chapters or the couple of paragraphs that I'm talking about in the book that I read today, he talks about the cost of discipleship and what discipleship cost us. And he talks about how discipleship should, and basically real discipleship to God, cost us everything. But he says something after that, and it's the phrase I have not been able to get out of my mind. He says the cost of discipleship is high, but what is the cost of non-discipleship? And he goes on to talk about it cost us greatly if we want to be a real disciple of Christ. But what does it cost the people around us if we choose not to be a disciple? What is the cost of non-discipleship? And he just does a great job in a couple of paragraphs there talking about how much it costs the world, how much it costs the lost souls around us if we choose non-discipleship, and how really the cost of discipleship is nothing compared to the cost of non-discipleship. Looking at the life of Christ, you realize that his entire life was a life full of nothing but selflessness. It was full of sacrifice and giving his life for everybody around him, giving his life for the world. And I think if we look at the life of Christ, we realize that it's going to cost us the same thing that it cost him to be a disciple of Christ. It's going to cost us everything. We're going to have to be willing to give our entire selves, to be completely selfless and give entirely who we are to Christ. Okay, I'm just going to pretend for a second that I'm not trying to put on the best camera face and say everything perfect, and I'm just going to be real and raw for a minute. I think that I am not at the times in my life where I'm not a very good disciple, it's because I'm thinking about myself more than I'm thinking about other people. And I know that sounds like, well, yeah, duh, that's the whole thing. But it's like, no, I don't stop and think about how much God needs me to be hands and feet. And I don't think we think about that enough. I don't think we think about the fact that, like, the Holy Spirit is moving, but the Holy Spirit is going to move through you and I. The Holy Spirit is going to move through people. And yes, the Holy Spirit does all of the work, but he needs our hands, he needs our mouth, he needs our feet to go and to be the light of the world. And I think just most times I'm too caught up in thinking about my own self. I'm too caught up in thinking about all the things that I want to do, that I want to accomplish, that I'm super selfish, and I don't stop and think about not only is following Christ for me, for my immediate benefit and the relationship and my family, but I don't stop and look at the people around me and think, are there people that are going to wind up never knowing Christ because I didn't shine the way I was supposed to shine? You want to talk about a very raw, real question. We can read our Bible and we can figure out what is the cost of discipleship, but I'm going to ask you, have you ever thought about what is the cost of non-discipleship? What is going to be the cost if you choose not to give God your whole heart and to pursue him the way that you have to, the way that you should, the way that you need to, the way that he deserves to be pursued? Guys, I hit my elbow. I don't think y'all seen that. I know it's a pretty short video. It's just what's been on my mind all day. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Give me some feedback. As always, I love you guys. Launch out into the deep. Go to the woods. Go fishing. Go hunting. Go do something that you enjoy doing. Just don't spend all day on YouTube. Even if it's watching like awesome videos like this, don't do it. Don't scroll on TikTok all day long. Get off social media. Get out there. Launch out into the deep. Launch out into the deep things of God. Dig into your word just a little bit more today than you did yesterday, and we'll see you on the next video.